out there, guitar heroes? All right, well, today's going to be our introduction to strumming and how we hold the pick and how we can get some good results as quickly as possible. Once you learn 2 or 3 chords that you can move back and forth. So let's zoom in and take a little bit closer look at how we're going to go about learning to get some good strumming techniques built. All right, so the first thing that we need to make sure is that we've got a good comfortable position with the guitar. So you can see here I've got one of my knees raised slightly. I got a stool here so my foot is up on the first rung and I'm resting it here so I've got a good comfortable position. So my arm is going to be here on the top of the guitar and resting very, very close, to the strings right here. So this is kind of your starting point. Okay. And now for picks, I recommend using the lighter picks. The stiff plastic ones are really going to give you some difficulty. At least they give me difficulty. These picks that I recommend are nylon and they don't break like the plastic ones do. This one happens to be brand is Jim Dunlop. It's a 73 millimeter. It's kind of a medium pick, but it's very flexible. And like the plastic ones, you can't move like this; they'll break. So this is really a pick that really lasts a long time. I really like it, and it has the flexibility, so you don't get stuck in the strings here very often, and/or drop it. The other thing, it's got some raised writing on it, so it's really got a nice grip to it. So it's a lot less likely to fall on the floor or into your sound hole, which has happened to me numerous times. All right, so as far as strumming goes, we've got lots of techniques of strumming, but we're just going to start with the basic stuff. So once we've got our chord formed, so let's just say that we like the key of G, and we're going to start with the G chord. All right, so the first thing about the pick is we want to have it angled up. It's angled up. It's almost facing me, the tip of the pick, right? So it's a triangle, right? And this is the way that I grip it. Okay, and I'm going to have this the tip on it facing up. And it's probably roughly a 45-degree angle. It might be even a little bit steeper. And I'm going to take the tip of the pick, put it on the top of the strings, and I'm just going to drag that down. Drag it down, holding it really lightly. Just in between these 2 fingers. I'm not holding it real hard. I'm not pushing on it. I'm just dragging it down the string. So at first you're going to try to make sure that you've got this down. Now the first thing is you don't want a lot of big motion here with your arm. Just a little bit, just enough to get down the strings. By keeping your motion close to the strings, you don't waste a lot of energy being way down here and then way up here. You don't need to be there. You want to start with the pick laying right on the top of the first string. Dragging it down. So as a starting point, this could be your little practice routine. So sort of the 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you could change chords. You can just say, okay, I'm going to go to E minor now. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then maybe you could go to a C. And remember on the C, we have our thumb on the top here because we don't want to play the big string. So we have that muted. And your thumb almost comes up here automatically, but by bringing it up here, you'll find that that's a normal spot you want to have that for. That at least the C chord and the D chord and the A minor chord, you never want to hit that string. So we keep it muted like that. So same thing, we're on the C. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the strings should all ring out. You're holding it lightly. Again, hold it lightly enough to, so it doesn't fall out of your hand, but you're not gripping it hard and you're dragging. Dragging is the best way I can describe it. And that pick is probably at this angle with the tip resting on top of the big string. So you're going to practice that to get started with. Now, once that's starting to feel comfortable, then when we have these flexible picks, then they're a lot easier to do up strums as well. So if we start with, let's say, well, let's just start with an up strum and see how that feels. So the same thing, I'm going to angle this pick. Now down towards the bottom, I'm going to rest it on the little E string. Let's go to that E minor. 1, 2, 3, 4. If you want to stop the strings quickly, just bring your palm down like this. We're going to try the C now. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now let's try D. 2, 3, 4. And the D is the same as a C in that thumb needs to be here because we don't want to hear that big E. In fact, we don't really even like the A, the next string, but it's generally speaking, you'll be okay doing this. Okay, so you want to work on those two things, and maybe you need to work on them for a week until you start feeling comfortable. Then the next step would be we're going to do some up and downs, and we'll do this really slow so that, again, we don't get ourselves too far ahead. So let's start with an up and down one. It's going to look something like this. Again, keep thinking, drag the pick across it. Don't have the picks straight into the strings, because then you'll get stuck. Lay the pick on the top and then just drag it along. Same on the bottom. Drag it, drag it, drag it. Now you can easily tell then whether or not your strings are your fingers are in the right positions then too. Remember, you always want to keep your fingers close to the fret if you can, right? If I'm up here, I might get the buzzing down here. So a little bit as close as you can to the frets. Meaning, okay, so this is a fret, right? In the center, here's a fret. So if we're going to use this string right here, I want to be as close to that fret as I can. Not on top of it, I'll get buzzing, but if I'm back here, I'll get buzzing too. So I want to be in the half or as close as I can get with all my chords, okay? So we'll go then, we'll continue on with this up-down thing. If the notes sound sour, then look back at your fingers and make sure that you're pressing down on top of the string and not leaning over and getting on another strings. Fingers generally have to be roughly straight down, and remember, you're on the tips of your fingers, on the tips, not on the pads. You're not on the pad, you're on the tips. So if you look at my fingers very carefully, you're going to see the string lines right in the fingers. Okay, so straight down on those for best effect. Okay, so the purpose of this is just to get you your muscle memory so that you know where your hand positions are, and you start real slow and you work up, and take the time that you need to change your chord positions. And then once you start feeling more comfortable with that up down thing, then eventually you're going to be speeding that up. I'm holding at the pick really light. I'm just dragging it again, not being real hard on it. And I've seen so many beginners. They're wild with their hand. The hand's all over the place. They're jamming the pick into the strings. Just lay it on top, real gentle. Now, of course, we don't have any rhythm here, right? We're just dragging it across. So eventually, you're going to be able to speed up and get to something like this. Okay, so that's basically all that I wanted to cover today. It's a lot of ground. It might take you a few weeks to get to where you want to be, and then obviously the next steps beyond that are always speed related, being able to change the chords quickly. But this strumming is really important that you get that down right, correctly, and also make sure that you get a flexible pick, because as you advance, this pick has flexibility in that it can bend a lot easier, where the thick ones won't bend at all. So if I'm strumming really fast, I'll have all kinds of difficulty if I use a thick pick doing that, because I'm really putting more pressure, so to speak, to get that kind of a sound. So start out making sure you got that. Make sure that you're comfortable with the guitar, on the knee. And if you want to stand, of course you can. You can obviously need a strap. And take those chords that you've learned, and then just work this strumming pattern. And then eventually, like I said, you're going to start speeding up. And then, of course, we have other techniques once we get beyond that. And that would the first technique would probably be making sure that you have a pattern in the strumming, right? And the way to hear the pattern is typically to mute the string. So see, my hand is just kind of laying on the strings. So you can hear there's a pattern there, right? It's not just... And the patterns are endless, but this is a good way for you to learn the speed of the pattern, and then the kind of the texture of the pattern. Now, you notice that my arm is not moving, it's only my wrist. My arm is resting right on here, it doesn't move. So if your arm is flying all over the place with this, then you know that you're making a mistake. This is pretty much just wrist action. All right, so you've got a whole bunch of stuff to work on there. And after a couple of weeks, you're going to start feeling more comfortable, and then we're going to get into more complex strumming patterns, as with all songs have their own individual strumming pattern, and some other techniques, and one we call palm muting, and that's where my hand is down here on the strings to stop it, and I can release the pressure of the chords and get this kind of a sound. And that's a combination of releasing pressure and using palm muting. So just something to kind of keep in mind as you move down the road. That moves you into kind of the next step. So that might be a few months down the road. But I hope you got something out of this lesson, and we'll talk to you soon.